Thank you for taking time out from the United Workers of the World Convention, Emosanovich, to visit with us.
You are welcome.
You have traveled all the way from Ruthlejska to participate in this event here in Chicago.
Evidently, since I am here.
According to our information, you are Ambassador at Large for the People's Republic of Ruthlejska. How were you selected for this important event?
My name was suggested to the Supreme Workers' Committee and I was chosen to participate.
That is quite an honor. What qualifications did you possess? Were you a hero of the revolution?
Not exactly. I threw a few stones but I don't think I hit anyone.
There must have been some reason why you were selected over all the other candidates.
Yes, there were hundreds of volunteers for a free trip to America. However, I was the only one voted most likely to return to Ruthlejska after the convention was over.
Well, that's special. Your English is very good. Did you study abroad? Please tell us more about yourself.
Both my parents were Americans who had fled the oppression of the capitalist dictator in America at the time. They wanted to live in a country where the workers were appreciated more than the bankers. Before the revolution I worked as a supervisor in an automobile assembly plant under the ruthless dictator Marcoses. I made more money than I deserved in an 8-hour shift, owned a small 2-bedroom house with an inside toilet. My wife didn't have to work and looked after our son.
That didn't sound so bad.
I have not finished. After the revolution the capitalist pigs left the country taking all their money with them. Because I was active in the revolt, I got to keep my job at the factory, but there was little money. After a year, my wife became ill because of the food shortage. I applied for state medical aid for my wife and was given a hearing because of my high worker status. The medical board consisted of 5 loyal workers that had proven themselves in the revolution. In consideration of my devotion to the party, they cut the waiting time to see a doctor in half. My wife would only have to wait 5 months to see a doctor.
The board members were physicians?
No, but I knew they were loyal party members. Georgi had medical experience because he had been a janitor in a veterinary clinic. Kostov had been a clerk in the drugstore and Julio, I knew him too, he had been a roofer.
How does being a roofer qualify anyone to make medical decisions?
He fell off a roof once which gave him the opportunity to see the inside of a hospital.
So, what happened to your wife?
She died after 3 months of waiting.
I am sorry to hear that. What provisions did you make for your son while you work?
Since I could not take care of my 6-year-old while I worked long hours at the plant, the committee took him to one of their workers' educational centers so he could learn how to work.
So they took him away to what we would call a workhouse for on-the-job training.
He will be a good worker while he is learning to work. Children should pay their own way, don't you think?
What happens to bad workers in your country?
There are no bad workers, only cooperative workers and non-cooperatives. Cooperative workers are placed in positions that realize the potential of their abilities.
And the non-cooperative workers?
They work in the gold mines in the mountains.
I didn't know that there was gold in your country.
There is not much, so the workers mostly make small racks out of large rocks. Gravel is what I think you would call it.
You mentioned that you worked long hours. How many hours do you work?
I usually put in 12 to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you work over 12 hours, you get a second bowl of mush. Remember our motto is, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. Since I have the ability to work long hours, I do it for the glory of the revolution.
Does every worker have long hours also?
Some are not privileged to work at all. The committee decides.
Is there a committee that also decides working hours?
It is the same committee that reviews medical treatment requests. The committee also decides what your needs are.
What are your needs?
I only need work clothes, a bowl of mush per work shift and a place to sleep. The state furnishes an apartment near the factory. Before the revolution it was occupied by an elderly couple. Now there are beds for 12 workers.
Does everyone have the same needs?
Not at all. Many workers have parents to support and children to feed and educate. Also, if they live on the outskirts of town, they must have a car. If they claim to be in poor health, Their homes are hated and they are sent to a warmer climate to recuperate from time to time.
Let me speculate. The workers with all those greater needs are friends or relatives of members of the committee.
Yes, of course. How could you have known that?
It was a lucky guess. So let me get this straight. Before the revolution you lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house with your wife and young son. In an 8-hour shift at the plant, you made enough money to provide you with food, clothing and other necessities. Now you are living 12 to a room in government housing, working over 18 hours a day for a bowl of mush. Your wife is dead because she received no medical treatment and your child is working in a sweatshop. Do you want us to believe that you are better off now than before the revolution?
Of course I am better off. You overlook the fact that before the revolution I was a great selfish capitalistic pig, concerned with my own needs before I learned the truth from the committee. Man's highest honor is to serve his fellow workers before himself. I sleep much better now, when I can find an empty bunk. Did I tell you that share the 12 beds? There are actually 24 of us, more or less, using the room.
Thank you, Mo, for dropping by the studio for this interview. Do you plan to see more of the Windy City after the convention?
I must get back to Ruth Laiska immediately, before they send someone to hunt me down and take me to the mountains.